Morning, everyone, and welcome to our LIU LearnOn webinar series. This one is on YouTube and closed captioning. So as we start into, for us, a new week of content, the LIU was closed on Monday, and so we didn't have any content on the LearnOn site last week, but this week we do. And so um, we're, we're looking at providing new opportunities for you. And this week is going to be a little bit different than what we had done in previous weeks. So as I explained, to begin with, when we first started out, we were really focusing on best practices and pedagogy for moving to online learning. And then we shifted into looking at lots of different tools that might be able to help you out with the solution of moving from face-to-face to virtual. And as a part of that, I also want to point out that even though we say lots of tools, we were trying to keep it to a small number so that we didn't give you 1,000 tools. We were trying to give you maybe 5 options that you could look at. And then we looked at content pieces as well. And now we're going to shift into some other areas where we look a little bit more in depth at particular tools. So as I think about the work that we're going to do here today, we're going to focus on YouTube and closed captioning as a solution. But you should also take a look at the LearnOn site for a list of webinars that are coming up, because our TAC, our training and consultation staff, they're going to be doing a great job of filling in some pieces to help you with MTSS and assistive technology and other initiatives that fall under the PDE guidelines for what TAC provides. So this is, again, our team. You can see my contact information is right here if you're interested in asking any questions. One of the things that is also going to be different, last week we were going through a long list of pieces, as those of you that have been on all the webinars before know, where we talked about norms and things like that. We're expecting the webinars to be much smaller this week, and so I've enabled chat and things like that. And so so we'll work through some of those pieces. But I thought this, because we're going to talk about YouTube, that this might be a good slide to go back and look at. We talk about best practices, the idea that less is more, that you're going to have to prioritize and balance out the learning that you're doing. But video is really important because it makes the connection from you to your students. So perhaps you're able to do that live, but maybe not. Maybe you're going to have to do this virtually. And so when you do that virtually, you're going to have to think about, how am I going to make a connection with my students? And I think video is a great way to do that. One of the things that we will talk about is that you want those videos, if you're actually making videos that you want students to watch afterwards, no more than 6 minutes. That's sort of the chunking piece that we talk about a lot. And you'll recognize that as we talk about as we talk about how that goes, you know, in a webinar format, it's a little bit different. This is more live, so it's interactive. You can ask questions, and so the length of time can be a little bit longer. But even with these, we have really worked to keep them into shorter chunks of time. And so if you think about, we see lots of webinars coming our way, lots of folks that are producing content, and they're typically an hour. We shoot for 30 minutes, maybe a little less. Mine tend to go a little bit longer for some of the names I see on the list, as you recognize. I probably can't help myself, but we do try and chunk it down because it's a lot for folks to be online. The other part of best practices is you want to be clear, you know, what are your objectives? What are your expectations? And I think the expectation piece is really critical, making sure that you tell students. So like at the beginning of this week, I would tell them these are the pieces that we should be taking a look at. So identify the time to complete the task. Try and tell students, this is how long I think it's going to take in order to complete this task. And then you'll have to be honest, you know, like if some kids are saying it's taking me much longer, you know, getting that information will be helpful, and then telling students that. But, you know, if you say, like, here's the task and I expect it'll take you about 20 minutes, if it's students now in an hour and they're still working on it, they're going to they're going to find that, okay, maybe I need to stop and wait because that teacher, and ask some questions because the teacher said it should only take in 20 minutes. And that will also help the caregivers who are providing information to students, on this is the work that you should be doing. Because, we're looking for sort of the schoolwork life balance that's going to happen in homes. And then the final piece here is to organize and sequence the instructions, so going step by step. So if you're looking for more, you can click on that little link there at the bottom. We'll have all this posted on the LearnOn site after the fact. And in fact, what I'll do is I will drop this into the chat right now for you guys, so that you can follow along if you want. Now, I see somebody already posted a question for me in the Q&A pod, so that's a great place if you have questions as we go along to do that. And the question is that you've heard that that a good rule of thumb is that the length of the time for the video should equal the age of the student, so that a high school student might be able to handle 10 to 15 minutes as opposed to the 6-minute limit. And actually, that is one of when we first started out, we actually had that rule of thumb that was on this slide, and then we changed it. And the reason we changed it was we did a little bit more digging into the research, and on the best practices page. So if I click on there and open up, I might be able to find this really quickly. There was a nice little article. Okay, so it's a study right here that you'll see that talks about limiting to 6 minutes, like that's sort of the optimal time for them. But you'll see that we also had the great rule of thumb. So we have sort of both pieces. High school students can probably handle a little bit longer video, but again, 15 minutes, that would probably be the max for me that I would want students to go through. And even if I needed to provide that much content, I'd probably chunk it into 2 6-minute segments where I talk in one place and then another place. And so that's just an interesting way to go through things. So when I think about the outcomes, there are 2 pieces here. I want you guys to understand how to use closed captioning for videos, both on the fly and after the fact. And then the second is to understand how to use YouTube and to use YouTube Studio to upload videos in there. It's actually, I think it's a pretty easy process, but we definitely want to make sure that you are ready for being able to do that type of thing. So so having said that, let's jump in here and get started. And the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the idea that you need to use closed captioning. And so I put a screen on here that has a little bar, and I've showed this a couple times, but it's really worth diving back into because if you have students who may have a disability and you need to have the closed captioning on, a great way to do that is to use this little CC button. So so if I'm going to escape out of my presentation for a moment, and I'm going to go back in. And when I go to present, what you see on the screen here, this toolbar is actually going to appear on the bottom of the screen. And so when I hit present, the first thing I'm going to do for me is I'm going to hit this little exit at a full screen so you can see that. And I just roll my mouse around and I can get that. So for me, what that did was it took what was on my entire screen and then it portioned it off so I can see like the chat and the questions and things like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on this closed captioning button. And as soon as I do that, closed captioning is enabled. And so as you can see, as I talk, the closed captioning is capturing everything I'm saying, and it's putting it in there nicely at the bottom of the screen. Now you might ask yourself, well, what happens if the person, if I have another person who's going to talk? What I will tell you is that this works really well if I need to have somebody else talk and do the closed captioning. They can, if I don't use my headphones and I turn up my speaker here, it'll capture that volume as well, and it will continue to do the closed captioning. When I'm ready to turn it off, I can just hit that little button there and that turns it off. So that works great if you're going to be in Google Slides. So again, I'm using Google Slides. I just put it into presentation mode, then I look for the little closed captioning button. But you might ask yourself, okay, well, what happens if I want to do closed captioning, but I want to show something else on the screen, like another website or something like that. So if that's the case, then what you can do is this. So I'm going to stop my share for a moment. And this time I'm going to do another share, but I'm going to share my full screen and my full desktop. And so when I do that, so now you see lots of stuff on my whole screen. You see the mess that is there. And what I'm going to do is on this slide deck, I'm going to start a slide deck. So I created a blank slide deck that just has 2 slides in it for closed captioning purposes. I don't really need this slide deck, but I'm going to hit present. And so when I do that, what you'll see is it took up my whole screen. Now, the first thing I need to do is I need to, again, put it back out of full screen mode. So I do that. And so now you see it's just in a portion of my window. All right, now I'm going to turn on the closed captioning. So the closed captioning is there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this window over top of it. And when you see that, so now I can be scrolling through and doing anything I want here, but the closed captioning will still be captured. And I can change that window size if I need to make the closed captioning bigger or smaller as it may need to be. And so in doing that, I can bring whatever content I want on top of here. So that's the closed captioning piece that will work. And I'm going to go back into my regular slide deck here, and I'm going to share my screen again in a moment. So if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Pop them into the chat. And so that's how you do closed captioning. I mean, that's the piece. And but I also wanted to point out that if you go to YouTube, and so if I jump over to YouTube and I just pick any one of my videos, so I have one here on filling out forms, what you're going to see in YouTube when you go to play a YouTube video, and this is getting ready to play, I'm going to turn the audio off for a moment, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the closed captioning on. And when I hit that button, it's going to, as you can see right there, it's going to fill in right on the screen. You can see it coming through there, right as I sort of mess with it as I go up into the time bar. But it turns on the closed captioning. And so what I'm saying is not what you're seeing. What you're actually seeing is from the video. And so YouTube does a great job of converting it over and making it work very well. And so for students, they can just, again, click on the closed captioning. And this is a reason why you might want to use YouTube for some of your videos. So even though we created the videos here, and we can do it live, which helps for like an IEP meeting or some other situation where you might have somebody that needs the closed captioning live. If you're working through the process of getting a video that has content and you're delivering to students, putting into YouTube allows for that extra piece. So there's the picture that reminds you in YouTube. You just look for the little CC button, and that will enable the closed captioning. So now I want to talk just for a moment or two about YouTube. And YouTube has made some changes over the last year or two. And if you have Google, then you have a YouTube account, right? Google owns YouTube. And so what you can do is, you'll notice, like I showed the little grid. So if I go over to like, I'm going to go to google.com, right? And I just go into Google, or if I were looking at my my Drive folder or something like that, what you're going to see is, one, I'm logged in, so I have my little picture here, and it tells me my account information that I'm here with. But if I click on the grid, I can scroll down and I can go to YouTube. So if you're logged in on any device and you are logged into your Google account, you're going to be able to go to YouTube. So one thing and I want to show you something here, because we have two accounts. I have my own personal account. So like if I click here, it's going to take me right to my personal account. And so it's going to give me some recommended videos, and it's going to have things that are important or following. And yeah, you'll see lots of science stuff here, and you'll see some of those things. And I can go through my library, right? These are the videos that I have created, okay? And look through or watched or set up myself. So I have some different things down here. But I want you to notice that the picture changed. And so you can go back and forth. You can switch accounts. So I have a school account, and I have my generic IU account. And so I think you're going to get more out of seeing the IU account, but you can switch back and forth. You just want to make sure that when you upload videos that you're doing it on the right account. So, all right, let me jump back to the slide deck real quick. So again, I put the grid up here just to remind you that that's where you go in order to see your YouTube channel. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore the slide deck, and I'm going to walk you through the pieces that you're going to see on YouTube, so that you can see it live and you can ask questions that you might have. But the slide deck will be a nice placeholder for you, so you can kind of go back through. So if you're watching this and you have access to the slide deck, and I put it into the chat, you can go back and you can take a look at it. All right. So if I jump over to YouTube again, and I go into my channel, so that's what I want to look for, is my channel. When I go to my channel, down the left side, there are a lot of things that you can do to sort of set up your account in terms of what you're watching, subscriptions that you might have, so you can subscribe to different things. I just want to remind you that if you're on your school account and you're subscribing to things, that people who go to your page are going to see the types of things you're watching on YouTube. So this is a great place to make sure that you understand the difference between your private and your public, your professional accounts. And so when I do this, if I click up here, so if you take a look here, you can see the little ninja person, right? That's my account. I know I'm in my account here. If I want to change over to like my personal account or a couple others that I have, I can do that. So when I'm watching videos, I want to make sure that I'm watching them on the right account. So here I'm in my channel, and you can see all the different videos. And in this particular case, these are all the LearnOn videos that we've been going through. And so you can see like it has uploads. So the latest upload was done, a tutorial that we created 5 days ago. And then our last webinar of the day on Thursday, which was the last day we had content. And then we actually had a board meeting last week that was uploaded here. So these are the last sets of videos that were uploaded. The next line says LearnOn webinars. These are all the webinars. So as you look here, you'll see that these are going in actually chronological order from when we first started. So there's the LearnOn leadership webinars, and then we started our content with best practices and what is your warehouse, and so you have that. And then we have a set of tutorials, and then we have a set of board meetings. So when I'm in my channel, right, I can set up these lines. And if I actually click to upload a video, so let's say I want to upload a video, that's what I'm going to start with. So here's what I'm going to do is I just need to go up here and click on the little plus, and you'll notice it says create a video or post. And I think that's a little misleading, because I'm not going to actually create a video, I'm going to upload a video. And so when you click on the button, you'll see you have, typically you'll probably have one choice where you can just upload a video. So when I do that, it's going to bring me to this screen. And all I need to do is drag and drop a file. So I want to pause here for a moment, because I want to talk a little bit about the workflow that I do. So when I think about how I do my work, Under YouTube, there's going to be a dashboard. The dashboard will tell you some of the analytics, so like how many people you have subscribed to your channel, so you can see that. It'll probably talk about your last video, so you can see this was our last video, how many views we have and things like that. For me as an educator, I'm not as concerned about those pieces. You're also going to see that you can click where it says channel videos, and you'll be able to take a look at sort of a dashboard list of all your videos. So, so you can see, like, I have this tutorial, I can see how many views, how many comments, how many likes were on there, when it was published, if there was a restriction on it, what its visibility is, and I'll go into all of those pieces. But here's the workflow that I have, is that I'm making videos in Zoom, and then I'm uploading them. And so you saw I had that little create tab and I hit upload video. I'm making videos in Zoom and I'm recording them. And so on your screen right now, you'll see in the top little corner, it says recording. So I'm recording this video. And when I record, I'm recording it onto this computer. So that when I get done, I have a set of videos files that have been put onto my computer. Now, I'm going to go back over to YouTube, and all I need to do in this case is to drag the video right on top. So I have a video, and what you'll see now is that you won't see me dropping it in, but I'm going to drop it in, and now you see the screen sort of changing. So you can just drag and drop, and then you come to this window, and this window allows you to title it. So you can see even though it was a Zoom video that I pulled over, I would probably call it like Learn On Webinar and the title. And in this case, I'm just practicing. And then I'm going to give a description of the video. And I think this is really important because as the people see it, they're going to look at before they play it, they're probably going to look at that description. So I try and keep it short. What I want. Now, if you don't put in a thumbnail, which is next, if you don't put in a thumbnail, then it's going to pick one of the frames near the front and it's going to load that in. And I learned really early on, I didn't really want my face like being like, like whatever clip it gets. And so what I do is this, I take a screenshot of something that represents what's going to be in there. So if I go back to my slide deck, I'll go back to this one. I might take a screenshot of this piece right here so that that becomes my thumbnail, so that when people come to the video, that's what they're going to see. And then I would just hit upload thumbnail. And for me, if I go through and find, right, like that thumbnail, that screenshot I took, and I hit open, it's just going to pop that in and it's going to lay it over top. The next piece I'm going to work on are the playlists. And so if you have playlists, so for us, we have tutorials, we have webinars, we have board meetings. If I'm a teacher, I might think of homework help, lectures, advice to students, daily message, whatever it might be, because that'll segment it out and then you can create these playlists. And again, if I wanted a new playlist, I could just simply click here and create a new playlist and I'd be ready to go. So in this case, I'm going to put it in the LearnOn webinars. Notice that I can actually choose more than one playlist if I want to. All right. Now, the next thing is the audience. Is it made for kids? Well, first of all, it is made for kids. Like all the videos that we're doing are made for kids. But what's content made for kids? So I put a link in the slide deck, but I'll also click on it here so you can go and take a look. So you can determine when you're going to do this. Just about everything you're going to do is going to be under COPPA and is going to be okay. And so this is going to determine whether content is advertised to children or not. And you can take a look and you're going to have to read through this a little bit more. But it's going to help you in terms of eliminating some of the ads and other pieces that are a part of that. And so for me, I do click yes, it is. And you'll see features like personalized ads and notifications won't be available on videos made for kids. So they're more likely to be recommended along other kids' videos. So if I click on that, I need to know that that's where that information is going to be processed. So now I'm going to hit next. Under this next, you can add some pieces in. Once the video has been processed. Mine is still processing. You look down here at the bottom, you'll see it's 95% processed, so it's not quite done yet, so I can't add an end screen or cards. I tend not to do those types of things because I'm not really trying to promote any content. But then we get to really one of the most important places you can be. So you have the visibility is the last thing. And in this case, you can see like I can make it public and it actually highlights, like that's a highlight for it. And that means that everybody can see your video. If that's what you want, that's fine. If you want it to be unlisted, that means that somebody will have to have the link in order to see your video. So for me, if I do unlisted, then I'm going to provide links to my students. So now it's not going to appear, like if somebody goes to my YouTube channel, they're not going to see it. And so like if I hit unlisted, then I can provide those links and I can embed them there. So again, if I'm a little self-conscious or I don't want students to, I don't want that information to be out there, then that's going to be the case. But please note, unlisted doesn't mean that nobody can see it. So if a student gets it, gets your link and they send it out to somebody else, they're going to be able to see it. And then finally, you can choose on private. And if you choose private, then only the people you give it to can see your video. So you're going to have to send a link to their Gmail. You'll need to make sure that they have that link, and then it's going to be private. So if I'm giving advice to students, so like I may have homework help, and I want to sort of section them out into different groups. And so I have a group of students I want to get this video, but nobody else to see it. Then I need to make it private. Please understand there are ways students are good. They can take a video of the video, things like that can happen to get it out there. But in this way, nobody can access that link to be able to see it. You also see that you can schedule the video to become public at some point. So if I hit save, now this video will go into my library and it will continue on there. Okay, so I'm going to let that process through and just point out again, going back to the slide deck, that you can do the uploading. You set your title and your description. You upload your thumbnail. You choose your playlist. You hit your audience. And then you hit save or publish, okay? Now, if I go back into my YouTube channel, and when I'm looking at things, if I go back over here, I'm just gonna exit out of this. One thing you can do is you can view your channel just by clicking on yourself. You can also view these videos that are in here as well. And you can see, and in fact, the reason why that one process abandoned, because YouTube already knew that was a duplicate of a video that I had. So if I want to change the status of things, I can change them in here. This is again inside of my studio. But if I want to go back and I want to customize the channel, so I want to change like the lines that are here, I can go under customize channel. And in this case, I can put like featured content, or I can, for new visitors, like what do I want new visitors coming to my place to see? If I go under the videos, I can start to rearrange them into which way I might want them to work. I can look at my channel and my playlists, right? So I have 3 playlists, and I can go back through each of these pieces that I may want to work through. Oops. And just continue to make those edits. The last thing I want to put is for channel settings. One of the things that YouTube did is that they have changed the way channels work for education accounts. It used to be that you could create many different channels. So for me, I might have had, you know, my physics channel, my general science channel, other things like that. And now you really can only have one channel under the education accounts. So that's one other difference. So when I think about like how I'm going to work through my library, um, and again, uh, how I want this to be viewed, the biggest thing is just how can you upload it. And I did want to show you one other thing, if I can go back to my channel here, which is, so now that I've uploaded these videos, how do I send that out? The last thing I would point out is that if I go here and watch the video, you can click share, or you can actually share this link here. That's the link that will take you out to your to that particular video. And so as we go through and we think about those pieces, if you go to choose customize channel, as you customize the channel, it'll allow you to set the way that you want the videos to appear. All right, so with that, we're just about out of time for today. I did want to point out that you can find our schedule, and if I jump out to our website, our schedule is listed right here. So so we're going to have a number of videos that are coming your way as we look through the schedule here. You can see for the 15th, the 16th, and the 17th, we have a number of videos or webinars coming up, Newsella and some other things. If you don't see the LIU 12, then that means that that webinar, that experience is coming from someone else. So you can see Discovery Ed, Newsella, that's coming from Newsella. Ours will have the LIU 12 LearnOn webinar in front. Having said that, we do ask you to please do the evaluation. The link is right here. You can click on that link. In addition, you can click on the link for the Act 48, and you will be given that at the end. I do have just a few moments here. If there are any questions, feel free to drop those in. Otherwise, I'm glad that you could join me here today, and hopefully you're ready to start using YouTube to your advantage. And otherwise, have a great rest of your day and a good week coming up here, and we look forward to seeing you the rest of the week.